take a look at the market today for March 25th, 2025. And it was a green day overall, but definitely some pockets of weakness. You did have strength out of the Mag 7, so they're bouncing back after a really rough month and a half or so. Nvidia was down today, but you had Apple, Microsoft, Google, Meta. They were up, Amazon up. Even did Tesla eke out a gain? I don't see it on here, but Broadcom, that was down. Walmart was down 3%. But you saw weakness actually in healthcare overall. AbbVie was down 4%. Merck down over almost 5%. I believe it's the catalyst here it looks like RFK is going to attempt to ban advertising for pharmaceuticals on TV. So there's some weakness there. Utilities also were weak. You did see, you are seeing, rates not really move down dramatically. And so utilities generally have been weak. You did see the energy markets continue to be strong. Exxon and Chevron were up. Some of the banks were up, so there's some strength there. But it was overall, it was a mild day. Yes, the Mag 7 did well, but the S&P was up 0.16%. The NASDAQ was up a little over 0.5% there. The Dow, though, only up 4 points, 0.01% on the day. So really more of a pause day from yesterday's really strong start to the week. Now, on the economic front, you had consumer confidence that came in weaker than expected, much weaker than expected. And to 92.9 from 94.5 is the expectations. Last month, it was at 100.1. So pretty big drop. And the present situation index, the lowest since September of 2024. So what you see here is that the optimism from the election that Trump was going to come in and usher in this era of prosperity, similar to, maybe Trump 1.0, that has completely reversed. So all of that optimism is now gone. And if you look, and that's based on the current situation, how they're feeling today. And if you look at expectations index, so what are things going to look like into the future, 6, 12 months and beyond? That's the lowest level in 12 years, before Trump 1.0. Okay, so clearly this is all around inflation, the worries about trade policies, tariffs, that continues to be very high. And this is what is driving consumer sentiment. And this is a self-fulfilling prophecy potentially, right? If the consumer thinks that everything's going to hell in a handbasket, well, they're going to pull back, and that becomes the reality. And so that is the big worry here. And that's why this April 2nd date is going to be very important to see what kind of clarity we get on the inflation front, or the tariff front, how that might feed into inflation, what sectors, countries, businesses might get some sort of reprieve from what's happening. And so that's something we'll be watching here as the next week goes on. But we're definitely in a time period where the economy is weakening. You see that with the March Richmond Fed index that came at -4 from expectations of -2. So there's some struggle there as well. And new home sales up 1.8% month over month. And that was just below the consensus estimate. So that was the market today. Really more of a pause day. Nothing too crazy went on. Treasuries were a bit higher. The dollar index was down 0.1%. Gold finished up 0.3%. Bitcoin was down 0.5%. And WTI was down 0.2%. So no real big moves, over 1%. It was just a really minor day overall. And ultimately, I do think you get a float up into the end of this week, early next week. That's generally what you see as a major event like this could create some sort of volatility. If we get some positive resolution to tariffs, we could move all the way up to 5,900, 6,000 on the S&P. Right now we're at about 5,775 or so. So this is where we're at now. We're getting that bounce. It could last a little longer. We could even get some resolution to the upside. But as long as consumer sentiment remains in the toilet, I think the path of least resistance over the medium term is lower.